What's up everyone, and welcome to what is basically going to be an ode to the sponge tip applicator. This video is inspired by a moment I had actually shooting a video last week where I did an all drugstore natural glam makeup look. I was using the Butter eyeshadow palette from Physicians Formula, and I wanted to do a soft smoky line up on my upper lash line and just slightly kind of like pull it out a teensy little bit. And so lately, because I've been finding that ultra thin angled brushes like this just take so long to smoke and smudge things out, I reached for the sponge tip that came with this, and I realized that I think it does it better than the expensive tool. And then I realized that that is really not the only thing it does better than some tools. So basically, this video is going to be the 4 things that I think a sponge tip applicator does just as well, if not better, than the expensive tools you have in your collection. And expensive is definitely relative. I mean, there are definitely some amazing affordable brushes out there, but relative to the cost of a free tool that comes with a palette that you purchase is pretty inexpensive. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first tip is naturally what I just described, using a sponge tip to apply a smoky, smudgy liner to your upper lash line. Because so many of these have these tapered shapes and actually have a little ridge or seam along the side here, it turns out they make the perfect tool for creating a smudgy line, whether it's all along your upper lid or even if you want to wing it out. I am continuously shocked by how precise a smoky wing this can create. And I gotta be honest, again, anytime I go in for like a more precise winged tool like this, I find that there is always a sharp, unblended line between where I lay my wing down and where I try to blend it out, and using a sponge tip completely eliminates that for me, especially, and another thing that I love about sponge tips in general is that they're great to use wet or dry, but if you use them wet, you get a really nice clear-cut line, and then as it starts to dry, it's perfect for smudging that color out. If, however, you get a little too enthusiastic and a little too messy with that winged liner application, or really any eyeshadow application, once again, you can wet that with some makeup remover, some water, whatever you got around, as long as it's like eye safe, and you can use that same angled tip to clean up a wing or your eyeshadow, clean up in your under eye area. It's not great at removing glitter, but it is great at just cleaning up those more pigmented lines. And really, you can use this tip anywhere where you need to clean up your makeup. You can use it to sharpen the border around your eyebrows. You can use it to clean up super pigmented lips, because I'll tell you what, anytime I do a bold red lip and I go to try and clean up the lines with a finger or even a brush, it seems like the lipstick multiplies and then I end up with it elsewhere on my face. So again, you just wet one of these things, use that sharp edge to just clean it right up, and it works like a charm. Tip number 3, is that what we're on? I think we're on 3, is using one of these guys to pack on eyeshadow. Sometimes when you go in with a brush, even if it's a flat shader that is kind of designed to pack on eyeshadow when it's dry, it still takes a lot of layering to achieve. And there's something about a dry sponge, although even a wet sponge, that but in comparison, all it takes is just one stroke of that across the lid and it lays down pigment so much more efficiently. The same thing can be said, and this is basically tip number 4 if I'm being honest, but it does the same thing with glitter too. Rather than getting one of those like silicone little brushes, because right now people like e.l.f., I mean a bunch of people make tools that are supposed to be exclusively for applying glitter, and they're like these little silicone shaped just like this, but they're smooth, like a paddle kind of, and I find those to like not at all help. I much prefer to go in with a brush, but then the glitter gets like stuck into the brush fibers. And with a sponge tip, you'll see I used it to apply the glitter that I am wearing today, which by the way is out of the Violet Voss Best Life 2 palette. All of the demos that you'll see here are using shadows and glitters from this palette. It's so gorgeous. But you can see as I'm patting on the glitter that I'm wearing on my lid today, it comes off of the sponge tip relatively easily. And you'll notice that as I applied both the pigment and the glitter, there was very minimal fallout, if any fallout, in my under eye area. So I think those are definitely cases where the sponge tip actually does it better than any tool that you either already have in your collection or that companies have even made to do that job better. So those are just a few tips. I'm sure there are a ton more out there. You should let us know if you have one down in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. I hope you did. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.